again from my little home studio here in Copenhagen. I wanted to thank you guys so much for joining me virtually here on the mat while we're going through Corona. And those of you that join me normally, I'm just glad to have you. So, for today's class, I'm going to do a little bit of a shorter segment focused on the shoulders and the neck. For those of us that are working from home and probably getting a lot of time sitting at a desk or a computer. So, we're going to get moving around, get a little bit of flow, all based from the floor. This is something that you can ease into your day, slide in between homework sessions or in between phone calls. So it's something great to come back to as much as you need to and whenever you can. Again, these classes are free, but if you would like to donate to me, you can do so by one of 3 ways. And you can find those ways in the link below. And yeah, thanks for joining me. Happy to have you and welcome back.
So to start today's class, I would like you to meet me on the mat, sitting cross-legged with your ankles crossed one in front of the other. Your sit bones, so those bones right at the back of the bum, rooting down into the mat, and maybe even pulling the meat back so that you can really feel them pressing down. Then letting the hands come onto the knees, taking the shoulders back and down behind you, and then going ahead, closing the eyes as you start to reach up through the crown of the head, up through the ceiling. Starting to slowly soften through the rest of the body as you take in long, deep breaths now in and out through the nose. And taking this first minute just as an invitation to start to get settled on the mat. Finding yourself maybe even swaying a little bit. Until you find yourself really coming into center and finding this really easy, comfortable seated position. And as it becomes easier, you notice that the breath becomes longer. Traveling in and out through the nose, going past the lungs to fill up the belly, pushing out the rib cage and filling all the way up to the collarbone, emptying out from top to bottom. And trying to keep the mind steady here, focused on the breath, whether it be the sensation of the breath, maybe the sound of the breath, even counting the breath. Whatever it takes to root you in this moment to your practice, to step away from distraction and to focus solely on the breath. Taking just about 5 more deep breaths. The last 3 breaths, being the longest and deepest breaths of the day so far, filling you up as you inhale and slowly emptying out with every exhale. One last breath. With the next inhale now, gently letting the eyes flutter open, taking a soft gaze in front of you, and then starting to take the hands, the fingertips reaching straight out from the hips, opening through the heart as you inhale, looking up towards the ceiling. Exhale, starting to pull the chin down and in towards the chest. Inhale to lift. And exhale, slowly pulling down and in. Once more, inhale. And exhale, chin to chest. With the inhale this time coming through center. Exhale, looking over the right shoulder. Inhale, coming through center. And exhale, looking over the left shoulder. Inhale, center. And exhale, right. Inhale, center. Exhale, left. Once more on each side, moving with the breath. Keeping that heart open. And then coming back through center now. Bringing the hands back to rest on the knees. And then using them to press into the knees as you roll the shoulders, bringing them back and down behind you. Inhaling as you press them up towards the ears and exhaling back and around. Take one more big breath backwards and then reversing directions. Inhaling, bringing the shoulders back and exhaling down and around. Maybe letting the palms slide down the legs. Last round. Beautiful. From here, we're going to make our way now onto hands and knees. So coming with your hands directly underneath of your shoulders, your knees directly underneath of your hips, and then taking a couple of cat-cows. So starting to drop the belly, tilting the pelvis, and then bringing the gaze upward, pulling the sternum through the arms. Exhale to press into the hands, tucking the pelvis under and bringing the chin to the chest. Inhale, lifting, lengthening, and then dropping the belly. Exhale, rounding out and pressing the mat away. Once more, inhale, and exhale. Then coming back to center. This time now you'll go ahead and bring your left hand into the center of the mat. Then inhaling to lift the right arm straight up towards the ceiling. Looking up towards that right hand and pressing into the left hand to spin the heart further open, sliding the right shoulder blade back and down behind you. Taking a few more breaths either here or beginning to drop that right hand so that the back of the hand rests on the low back. Then continuing to spin the heart open with every inhale, pressing down through that left hand with the exhale. One more deep breath here, wherever you are. And then using the following inhale to bring the right arm straight back up to the ceiling. And exhale to drop it down to the mat, replacing the left hand in the center and then spinning the left arm straight up to the ceiling. Pressing into that right hand and again sliding that left shoulder down and back as you twist the heart open. either staying here with the left arm lifted for the next several breaths, or beginning to turn the arm and drop the back of the left hand to rest on the low back, then using it to spin yourself deeper into the twist. Inhaling to open and pressing down through the right hand with an exhale. One more deep breath. And then inhaling to bring the left arm up, replacing it down again on the floor. Several times now, inhale to lift the right arm and exhale to lower it down. Inhaling to lift the left and exhale, drop it down. Inhale right, exhale lower, inhale left, and exhale lower. Once more on each side, right and left. Then coming back to center.
From here, we're going to go ahead and walk the arms straight out in front of us, keeping the palms pressing back and the hips stacked directly over the knees. So you don't want the bum moving backwards or dropping forwards, but staying directly in the middle here. Maybe you need to drop down the elbows, and this is as far as you go. Otherwise, you'll continue to walk the hands out, slowly lowering the head so that it comes down in between the arms, maybe letting the forehead rest on the floor. Keeping the palms pressing down and lifting those elbows, the armpits, as you start to open through the front of the body. With an inhale now, starting to look up between the hands and dropping the elbows, slowly rolling forward onto the belly, making sure the elbows are directly underneath of the shoulders, the hands pressing down in front of you, all 10 toes pressing into the mat, and the feet at about a hip width distance. This is a Sphinx pose. So, as you're here, trying to soften the belly down first, then pressing into the forearms to roll the shoulders back behind you, opening the heart and the collarbone towards the front of the mat, and lifting the chin and the gaze slightly to open through the front of the body. Then maybe with an exhale, taking the gaze over the right shoulder. Inhaling through center, and exhale, bringing the gaze over the left shoulder. Inhale, center, exhale, right. Inhale, center, and exhale, left. Once more on each side. Then coming through center. From here, bringing the chin down to the chest, and then letting the shoulders pull up by the ears as you let the sternum and the top of the torso drop down towards the floor. Shaking the head a little left and right, maybe even shimmying the shoulders a little left and right. And then using the breath to start to press into the hands, slowly lifting the head with an inhale. Then pressing the palms into the floor, continuing to press the shoulders back and squeeze the elbows in, coming up for just 2 breaths. And then slowly lowering back down through our Sphinx. Coming now by tucking the toes into forearm plank. So you'll start by tucking the toes, then slowly peeling the rib cage off the floor, followed by the hips, then finally the knees, coming up into forearm plank, the gaze straight down between the arms, the heels pressing back behind you, and the heart pulling forward in front of you. Holding for another 3, 2, last breath. the exhale, slowly lowering back down the knees, untucking the toes, and then laying down the hips. And finally, the belly as you inhale, coming back up into Sphinx. Taking a couple more breaths. And then going ahead now, bringing the hands so that the fingertips line up with the top of the shoulders, hugging those elbows in and then pressing yourself up and then back. Bringing the knees as wide as the mat, the big toes together, and the arms stretching out in front of you. Slowly lowering yourself down and keeping those elbows lifted as you drop the forehead, coming into child's pose. Maybe rocking the head here again, left to right. Making sure that all the while the sit bones are sinking back towards the heels. The hands pressing you gently backwards, but then also feeling that collarbone and the top of the sternum descending down towards the floor simultaneously. Take one more deep breath. And then inhale, use those hands to walk yourself up and in, coming to a comfortable seat on the heels. Then from here, you're going to go ahead and bring the knees so that they're about hip width distance, coming up to stand. And then we're going to just take one back bend here. So I'll give you a couple of options for this back bend. If you have a little bit more limited mobility in your back, then you're going to go ahead and tuck the toes under. This is just going to protect the lower back and give you a little added stability. Otherwise, you'll leave the toes untucked on the floor. And then everyone will start with their hands out by the waist with the palms facing forward. Then bringing those palms so that the fingertips face downwards and the edge of the palm rests on the top of the sacrum, that little triangular bone at the base of the spine. So bringing both palms to rest on the sacrum, then rolling the elbows back first, starting to lift through the heart and the collarbone, lifting the gaze slightly, and then starting to push the hips forward as you lift the heart up and start to bend the back. Either keeping the hands here to support the spine or slowly beginning to search for the heels, one hand at a time. Once you get a grasp, sending the hips forward, continuing to pull the sternum and the collarbone up towards the ceiling, maybe letting the head fall all the way back. Taking 3 breaths here. And then slowly re-supporting the spine, one hand at a time, coming up one vertebra at a time. The head will come last, moving extra slow. Then releasing the hands down by the waist. Bring the big toes to touch as you sit back on the heels, inhaling to reach the arms up. And then exhaling once again, starting to walk those hands out in front of you, coming down several breaths, child's pose, just a nice counter pose to balance out that deep back bend. I'm trying to direct the breath here to the low back, imagining that you're filling the space with every inhale and softening with every exhale. Once again, using those hands, starting to press yourself up with the inhale, walking yourself up, again to sit comfortably on the heels, coming to rest on your knees.
From here, we're just gonna take our last pose, right and left, and then we're gonna take a brief little Shavasana before you can head back to your day. So, I'm gonna just spin myself around, making sure again that the knees and the hips are stacked directly one over the other. And then starting with the right hand, we're gonna bring the left hand into the middle of the mat, lifting the right hand up to the ceiling. Then with an exhale, sweeping it underneath of the left so that you come to rest on the right shoulder. And then sliding that left hand out by the face. From here, you're gonna use that left hand to press yourself into the mat, spinning onto that right shoulder and starting to open the heart. And then you can either stay here or you can go ahead and lift that left arm straight up towards the ceiling. Continuing to drop that left shoulder back behind you. And then again, if you want to take this deeper, there's the option to spin the left arm so that the back of the left hand can either rest on the low back or maybe even go around to grab the inside of the right thigh. Then continuing to spin you open. Taking a couple more deep breaths here. And then if you've got a bind, you're gonna go ahead and release. Inhaling, bringing the arm up from the low back, and then exhaling to press the left hand down again next to the face. Using that hand now as you press up with an inhale, lifting the right arm straight up towards the ceiling, lift the gaze. Exhale to drop the right hand down. I'm just gonna spin around and we're gonna do the opposite side. So, from here, the right hand is down. Inhale, lift the left arm. With an exhale, sweeping the left arm underneath of the right, coming to rest on the left shoulder. And then going ahead, keeping that right hand by the face, pressing into the floor to start to spin the heart open. Then you can either stay here or you can begin to lift the right arm, spinning that right shoulder back behind you and pressing the left arm into the floor. This can be your final pose, or you have the option again to start to rotate that right hand so that you can drop the back of the right hand onto the low back, or maybe even going around to reach for the inner left thigh, spinning you deeper open. This is called thread the needle pose. If you've got that bind, you're going to go ahead and release with an exhale. Then inhaling to bring the right arm straight up. Exhaling to drop that right hand again by the face. Pressing into the floor to inhale, lift the left arm, spinning the gaze up towards the left hand. And exhaling, coming back down. From here, we're going to go ahead now and take it down to Shavasana, our final pose. And we're gonna take just a little variation of Shavasana today. So, turning around so that your head comes towards the top of your mat, coming onto the bum, and then slowly starting to roll yourself back and down. Stretching long on the floor. Bringing your feet so that the heels rest at either corner of the mat, and then walking them away from you slightly. Letting the toes fall open in either direction. Making sure that the low back is pressing down towards the floor. The hands coming out by the sides, the palms facing up in a typical Shavasana. But for today's purposes, if you'd like to take a little bit of a heart opener, a little bit extra for the shoulders and the upper body, then what you're gonna do is bring your arms out directly from the sides of the body, then bending the elbows so that they come in at a 90 degrees, like a goalpost position. Then resting the back of the head on the floor, but pulling the chin slightly in towards the chest, closing the eyes, softening the face. The rest of the body follows suit. As you return one last time, and for just a couple more minutes, to the sensation, the sound, to the breath. Just noticing as you do return here to the floor, to this easy position, that you notice that the breath seems to move smoother than at the beginning of the practice. That the energy, the prana, is beginning to now flow freely through the body, activated through your breathing techniques and through your yoga asana. The mind wanders, simply bringing it back to the rise and the fall of the belly, to the inhale and the exhale. Taking your last minute here. Take 3 final deep breaths. In through the nose, opening the mouth. Inhale. Opening the mouth to let it all go. Last breath. With the next breath, start to let the breath return to its normal rhythm, wiggling the fingers and the toes, and then gently peeling open the eyes. Stretching the arms up above the head, and then taking the feet together, take a little wiggle from side to side. Then exhaling, pulling the knees in towards the chest, give yourself a squeeze. Rolling over onto one side into the fetal position and using the hands to press yourself up, coming to cross-legged like we began, center of your mat. Hands resting on the knees. We'll take 3 final breaths together here as a class, starting first by bringing the hands into prayer center, lowering the head, taking a deep breath in and a deep breath out, twice more. With the next inhale, bringing the thumbs to the space between the eyebrow, the third eye center. With an exhale, bowing down. Namaste, my friends. Thank you for joining me. Can't wait to see you again on the mat. Have a great day. Bye, guys.